And welcome in to the first ever in-season episode of the Fantasy 4-Pack. I am over the moon, boys. Football time. I know my calm and collected tone may not reflect it, but football season is like 25 hours away. I mean, I was just telling you, I was like, I'm potentially in the process of moving a Houston player right now on one of my fantasy teams, and part of the reason that I don't want to move him is I want to be able to have more guys to root for on the television tomorrow. I am just
Yeah, I'm in that like glaze of both like surprise and joy and shame post draft, where it's like I'm so happy that I have all these shiny new players who aren't hurt, and there's fresh season in front of me. But like at the same point, I'm like, but what about James Conner though? You don't have enough James Conner. What if James Conner's amazing? What if, should you have just reached on CEH in some of those drafts? Like all those questions are just bouncing around in my head right now.
oh yeah, no, there's never time for more tinker stinkering and post draft worry / hype than that short period of time between your drafts and the first kickoff of the NFL season.
I don't have anybody going, unfortunately, tomorrow.
Oh, you poor soul. You didn't draft any Kansas City or Houston players?
No. Actually, I tried to get Brandon Cooks, but then I was like,
If you have Brandon Cooks, you still might not have him going tomorrow. So, you know who will have someone going, though, if Brandon Cooks doesn't? I got so much Randall Cobb.
It's all about that Cobb.
Speaking of draft hype or draft sadness, though, if you guys had to, pick one thing from this year's drafts that you guys are either very happy or very sad about, I'm curious to hear what you guys' thoughts would be. For me, it's that I didn't get any Zach Ertz. He continued to either go in a weird, because I was drafting at the turn in a lot of drafts this year, and he kept going in like the middle of rounds, so I just had no chance to grab him unless I was going to go way too early on him. I'm pretty bummed about that on mine. I feel like Ertz is in for a good year, and for whatever reason, he had fallen to almost the 5th round by the time drafts had started. So I'm kind of sad that I didn't get much of him. But what are you guys thinking?
this one, in our main league,
Yep.
was it? You had the 6th pick? Yeah, so 3 picks before me. I'm sitting there, I'm like, Antonio Gibson's going like the 7th, 8th. I'm good. I'm feeling this. He's going to just fall to me. I'm going to pick him up here and just snatch right out from under me. I unfortunately did not get him in the downtown league either. So I am pretty bummed about that.
I got him there too.
I am, however, excited for the news that he is in a committee with McKissick, though. I am...
A little bit of a salve for the wound.
Yeah, you never want to see that happen to those players, but when you don't have those players, it hurts a little bit less.
You were feeling scorched post-draft, and hearing he's in a committee was like aloe on the sunburn.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's more just hearing the report coming from Adrian Peterson himself about him being the guy. They want a guy that can catch the ball, do everything for Ron Rivera. I'm so in, but I also know it's the Washington football team, so even if he is the guy for them, it's still not as sexy as having the guy for Pittsburgh or Kansas City. So I'm glad he's on my bench. I'm not relying on him too much, but I love having him as much as I do. For me, my big regret, I think, is not having enough, not having the cojones, to put it lightly, to go triple running back just because of how fast running backs were going in a lot of our drafts. Sometimes it was just outright not warranted when I had to reach on Chris Carson to get myself a second running back, which is something I'm happy about, that I stuck to my guns and went double running back to start almost every single draft. I saw a lot of people, especially in the back of the draft, trying to stick to this safe, 1-and-1. I've got my running back, I've got my wide receiver, and then they're looking around, and then when they get back to their picks, they're like, I guess I can have like Melvin Gordon or like Swift for my other back. Yeah. So I just wish I had just went more deep and just went triple running back more. I did it in one draft, and I was very happy with the results just because wide receivers are falling.
Yeah, if you were in like the middle of rounds, you were just kind of in a wasteland. And our league too, Kenny Galladay fell all the way to the back of the third because everybody was taking so many running backs.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. You either want to be in the top 4 picks or the bottom 4 picks. The middle picks are garbage.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do a little bit of news before we get into today's show. Biggest news outside of the NFL football season is starting tomorrow. Nuke got paid. I don't know if you guys saw that, but $54 million 2-year extension, so he's under contract for I believe 5 years now. And I had read that he actually did the deal himself too, so good for Nuke. He goes up, doesn't have to pay his agent anything. He just goes out there, gets himself a payday, and now he's with a promising young quarterback in Kyler Murray for the next 5 years. So really, probably the foreseeable future of his football life, because Nuke's latter half of his 20s. So
well, yeah, it's very easy to make a deal when you're like, hey, you throw the ball and I don't drop it. So
he can make a very strong argument for, hey, you remember when I had Schaub at quarterback and it was still amazing? So yeah, I'm good.
And then a lot of fantasy owners have probably seen this news. We obviously took a draft week hiatus to be able to focus in on all of the drafts that we had, so we didn't get a chance to really air this. But Damian Harris, darling late round running back for fantasy owners, unfortunately on IR with a hand, expected to miss at least 3 weeks. You hate to see that for a guy who was shining in camp, especially with Lamar Miller no longer being on the Patriots, so he just has to beat out Sony. He's someone who I would stash in an IR slot if he's been dropped in your leagues. I think that there is still the chance that he either just outright takes the job from Sony or that Sony gets hurt and he gets the job, because, we've seen Sony be both hurt and bad. But it's definitely sad to see him not really get the chance that we were hoping he was going to get going into the year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of like a Mac Taylor situation where we see Sony with the job now, and by the end of the season, we could see Harris coming back healthy and just thriving in that offense.
Only difference is, in this case, we don't have to guess who's the starter out of the gates because Damian Harris is physically not allowed to play. But yeah, no, I agree. He's, like I said, he's someone who I think is a good stash if your league has IR slots, and just hold on to him until that running back situation clarifies and he comes back and is healthy. So get well soon, Damian. You're like the only fantasy player on the Patriots that I really want to root for. So
hey, Cam Newton's there. He could do big things.
He has never finished below a top 5 QB in seasons where he's played a full season.
Yep.
Just throwing that out there.
It's the second part. That's the caveat that worries me a little bit. You guys know I hate injury-prone players. Not hate them. I hope Cam Newton has lots of success as a Patriots fan. Damian Harris is the only one I was excited to be like, yeah, let's see what he can do. Nope, nothing. All right, today we're going to be going through the first 7 matchups of this week. We are not going to be including the Monday matchups in either of these next 2 episodes, as those are too far out for us to have accurate information on. So tune in on Sunday morning, as we'll touch a little bit on some of our thoughts for the Monday games. When we do our Sunday morning live stream, but for now, let's walk through the Thursday game and the first half of the Sunday games. You guys ready?
Let's do this.
Oh, before you drinking a beer reminded me. Before we kick it off, Vitaly, introduce us to the beer of the week. I can't believe I almost forgot that. I'm rusty after the break,
Yeah, it's so I went with a nice little Voodoo Ranger. It's something I had a while back, and I was kind of like, I want to try that again. So what better place to do it than throw it on the podcast, get your opinions on it, and put it out there for all my non-IPA drinking beer lovers out there. So for me, it's got enough of a fruitiness that I enjoy it enough. This is a cash beer, what I would call it. I can sit around and just drink this, maybe with a stogie. But yeah, it's not bad.
I'm surprised. It's a little hoppier than I thought that you would go for.
Yeah,
I think it's great, but
yeah. Once I saw West Coast IPA, I was like,
yeah,
Vitaly's probably not gonna like this.
Yeah, this has a little bit hoppier of a profile than what you typically go for. So I was surprised, but hey, I don't hate it.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about just dropping some Tecate on everyone.
Some Tecate beer. Let's go. I mean, it would fit right in with the Land Shark we drank last week. So.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait for next week.
All right, let's get into some football here. Houston, Kansas City, the big matchup to lead into the week. A massive 54.5 total. What are you guys' thoughts on this game? Any players to watch? Anyone that you're actively avoiding in this game, or are you just trying to, get a piece whatever way you can? Obviously, short of crazy, no one's saying start Miko Hardman over Juju Smith-Schuster or something. But are you guys trying to just put any playable player into this game?
Yeah, for me, honestly, there's not a lot to hate in this matchup. There's, if you're looking at I almost said Golden Tate, but no, for Houston, most of their, with Cooks potentially being down, Fuller's a huge guy to play in your flex spot this year.
100%.
But basically anyone on KC I want. It's a toss up between Mecole and Sammy Watkins. But basically everyone in KC has that touch of death where they only need a couple of catches and they can just rip one off and make your week.
Their team is just so fast.
Yeah, they're just hey, why don't we just get a guy who can throw it all the way down the field and a bunch of receivers who can just sprint after it. I think the only thing I'm down on is I think the total is a little bit inflated for me. KC was actually a really good defense at the end of the year, and I don't see any reason why they can't reproduce that. And with Houston having no Cooks and a new offense that they've got to get clicking, I could see Houston struggling out of the gate and this being an under total where KC just kind of runs away with it.
So I do want to say Cooks isn't a guaranteed out yet. He was held out of practice Tuesday. He did return to practice today. So he was limited in practice today. He's going to be probably, if I had to guess, a game time decision. So he's definitely someone for fantasy owners that they're going to want to keep a close eye on that one as the countdown keeps ticking to kickoff, because I think if he's in, he could be a huge play for them. Obviously, he's a very skilled receiver. Deshaun Watson is an excellent quarterback. I mean, the especially in a potential shootout like this, the sky could sort of be the limit for Cooks. He's someone who I especially like in DraftKings this week too, if he plays, because he's only 5,200 in DraftKings. He's almost as cheap as Sammy Watkins. Fully below people like Will Fuller, Travis Kelce, David Johnson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, all the other skill positions on that team.
Yeah, everyone's kind of projecting this game to be just a complete shootout, but I mean, Cooks, I think his ceiling is honestly some of the highest for his price.
Well, if Cooks doesn't go, who are you guys plugging in instead of? Because obviously, Will Fuller's not going to catch 46 passes. There's some other pretty good receivers on that team. I mean, David Johnson's got good receiving ability for a running back, or at least he has in the past. Randall Cobb is there. Kenny Stills is there. Who are you guys plugging in if you're a fantasy owner who maybe you grabbed Cooks as your third wide receiver and he's unable to go on Thursday?
I mean, if I'm trying to replace Cooks, hopefully I'm looking elsewhere because I do love Cobb in this matchup, but as far as players I really like, as far as on the Houston side, it is Cobb if you need somebody, or if you're looking for a cheap guy for DFS, or it's David Johnson. I mean, he's a pass-catching back, and they not only lost a bunch of targets with Nuke, now if Cooks is out, then he could be in line for, a whole bunch of catches. And that's gonna, even if he's garbage on the ground, those catches could make up his fantasy day and make him still a relevant fantasy player.
Sure.
Yeah, I think David Johnson's going to have a tremendous day in that offense. I mean, all the pieces are kind of falling together for him, especially if Cooks is out. Cobb and Fuller are obviously going to be the two focal points. I don't particularly like the tight ends on Houston. I don't really know
in
anything about
this case, I'm mostly just saying, as far as wide receivers, is there a wide receiver on that team you plug in if Cooks is gone? Or do you guys just sort of fade that wide receiver core outside of Will Fuller if Cooks can't go?
Oh, I'm stacking KC. I think Houston's going to have a bad time.
Yeah. For daily fantasy, like I said, I look at the cheap options. If I'm talking, redraft leagues, I'm hopefully rostering somebody who I took later, like a Deontay Johnson or somebody who had a little more upside than the other guys here, just because I don't think they're safe and they're interesting, but they're not who I want to plug in my flex.
Sure. Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Ravens. Are they going to be the first matchup we're talking about on the 1 o'clock grouping of games? Total points, 48.5. So actually surprisingly high total for two teams that are kind of known as, slug it out teams. I'm also pretty excited for this match. I mean, there's a lot of players I love on both sides of the ball in this one. I assume you guys are kind of in the same boat?
I don't have too much of either team, honestly, in my DFS slates. I think that it's going to be, again, an overprojected game. I think the basically the score inflation is assuming that Lamar is going to put up 36 touchdowns again. I don't see that happening. I don't know. I like Ingram. I don't really like Marquise Brown as much because Ward's probably going to be on him. So,
Yeah, for me, this one, I feel like it's very similar to the Houston-KC matchup where I think Baltimore's just going to run away with it and then just pound the rock until, the clock hits 0. I'm not super in on Cleveland guys this week, with the exception of Chubb, just because Chubb's going to do Chubb things.
Yeah.
Odell might be, he's a risky play for me. He's lower on, a lower... I doubt he can make wide receiver 1 numbers this week, just because I think that Baltimore's just going to be stifling with how much they're going to the time of clock for them.
I mean, so to get to a 48.5 total, that's 24 points apiece, basically. If they're just running it straight down the middle, someone's going to have to be scoring on that team. Obviously, it's not going to be all running through Chubb. I am very interested, and especially if Odell Beckham is fully healthy as he says he is. I'm very interested in Odell Beckham this week. There aren't a ton of Ravens options that I'm scared of. All of their primary options I feel pretty confident running out there. If you drafted Mark Ingram, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson, you're not starting them against a middle of the road defense like the Browns. I don't know if I would go any deeper on the Browns side than Chubb or OBJ though, unless you absolutely have to. I don't like a ton of options past them. I think it's going to be a very focused scoring path in this game. And then I do really like OBJ and Chubb for DFS as well, because Chubb's sitting at 6,500 and OBJ's at 5,900. So I mean, OBJ's priced the exact same as Landry this week if you're looking at him on DraftKings. So from a redraft perspective, I'm only really confident on the Brown side in Chubbs and Odell Beckham. But from a daily fantasy perspective, if I'm going in there on DraftKings, I'm probably going to have a lot of Browns this week because of the pricing inefficiencies built into Odell Beckham and Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Frankie.
I was going to say, I think it's going to be more of a grinder game than a shootout. So Mark Ingram at 5,500 isn't a bad deal either.
Yeah, he's like I said. There's no Ravens, or there's no primary Ravens that I'm fading. I think the Ravens are just great plays across the board. Next game on our docket here, Colts Jaguars, which should be an absolute dumpster fire of a game. But hey, garbage time points are still points. It's only got a 45-point total, and I'd be willing to bet that most of that's going to be on the Colts.
If you're streaming defense, this is the defense to pick up if they are available.
Yes. Hopefully you were targeting that in drafts.
Yeah.
I got a lot of Colts this year because I really like their week 1 matchup. Improved defense in the offseason, going up against the worst offense in football. Sign me up. Yeah. If you didn't draft them, but you can see the Colts sitting out there on the waiver wire, go out and pick them up. They're my favorite defense this week. There isn't a defense in football that I would rather have than the Colts, just specifically because of that matchup. It just seems like free fantasy points. There's also not a lot of Colts that I'm worried about starting because the Jaguars don't have a defense. The Jaguars side of the ball is a little bit more interesting to me, though. I guess the question for this is, and you probably have to start Chark if you drafted Chark, but outside of Chark, is there any Jaguars you're willing to start?
Not even a little bit. I actually have some Chark in DFS.
I was going to say, if not for redraft, maybe for DFS, if you're looking for a cheap play, you play Eifert just because of all the great camp news. It's, Eifert's been really clicking with Teal Steel, and, you don't have to worry about his injury concern too much because he should be healthy and ready to go for week 1.
You know he's healthy at least for the first snap of the game.
Yeah, you know he's out there, and when, like I said, when he's healthy, he's a really talented tight end. And like I said, if they've got nothing else, then he could steal you a touchdown. Like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to see him end the day with like 30 or 40 yards and a touchdown. And
He is also minimum price basically.
Right.
He's 3,300, so he's not actual minimum, but he's very close.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like if you're trying to do an expensive stack, maybe like a Michael Thomas in there for trying to play that Tampa Bay game, then Eifert might be a good go-to for tight end for DFS.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, because I actually do have a bit of Chark this year too. In redraft, I'm trying to see if there's ways that I can find better starts than like just that the entire. I'm probably not going to sit Chark anywhere, but I am like looking over my rosters to see if there's a better way that I can organize them than running Chark out there, because that entire game just worries me. I mean, like the Colts should be a much better defense than they were last year, and I don't want to. I don't want to sort of be in on the ground floor of the new look Jaguars.
But as a Chark owner, he's someone I missed out on a lot this year. If you're in on Chark, I mean, the Colts are a good defense, but not a great defense. So
Yeah.
Is that now worrying you that you have Chark, and if you're running into any of the top 10 defenses?
It worries me that it feels like I'm counting on garbage time for him. That's because if I'm running him out there, that's what it feels like I'm counting on. It feels like I'm counting on a big play or garbage time when the Colts don't care anymore and the Jaguars come back and get a score or two. So it does worry me a little bit. It was easy to look past those flaws preseason, but now I'm sitting here like,
They actually
really
have to play other teams now.
I really hope Gardner Minshew's actually good and not just a mirage.
Yeah, he's somebody I was hyping on just because of his performance last year. But if you're the
And
worst,
his nickname.
and his nickname and his personality and his everything, but when you're on the team that is the worst in the league, your fantasy outlook was just kind of rolling through them. It's about 18 is the ceiling,
Yeah.
so not great.
Yeah. Speaking of another game that could end up being actually our next 4 games could all end up being dumpster fires, but or next 3 counting the next 4 counting the Jaguars game. Philadelphia Eagles, Washington football team. It feels a little bit like taking candy from a blind toddler.
Welcome to the NFC East.
Yeah, like this should be a blowout. The odds makers in Vegas do not agree with it being a 43-point total, which I assume is just because the Eagles are going to get up early and then just stall it out.
Yeah, I think it's mainly due to the fact the Eagles are so injured right now that they just want to get in and get out of this game. So I don't see them trying to run up the score or anything like that. They've already talked a little bit about limiting Miles Sanders just due to his lower body injury, whatever that means still. Mm-hmm. But as far as this game, the two, I think Miles Sanders and Ertz are both like locked in, loaded. Don't worry about them. Even if Miles Sanders is still limited, he's going against Washington, and I don't fear that team at all. So he's going to get his work, and he should easily return, like at worst, mid running back 2 numbers. I'm still projecting him for close to 100 multi-purpose yards and a touchdown in this game.
I mean, Washington was 31st against the run last season, so he should be fine. I'm not particularly worried about him. I do have one additional player that, and before you cry heresy when I say this is only for if you grabbed him and this is his moment to shine. Deshaun Jackson, if you picked him up.
Wait a minute.
If you picked him up.
Wait a minute.
This is the moment to play him. Everyone else is hurt. Washington sucks. He's going to get hurt. You know he's going to get hurt. He always does. So if you wasted a pick on Deshaun Jackson, play him this week because it might be this might be his, very Deshaun Jackson-esque, goes out there, gets you 150 and 2 touchdowns and vanishes from the face of the earth. So you don't want to miss that performance then just be chasing that dragon the rest of the season. If you drafted him, you play him this week. You either
And then you trade him.
yes, and then you trade him or you cut him to not have the temptation on your roster.
God, imagine this is just the year Alshon Jeffrey's out for the year and Deshaun Jackson's a wide receiver one. Just wouldn't that be just like the most like Deshaun Jackson? Like his whole career has been up and it's basically
It's happened before. He's been a
Yeah.
wide receiver one, if I recall correctly, once in his. I mean, for fantasy at least, once in his career.
Yeah, like that would just be the most Deshaun Jackson thing is taking his season-long schedule and how he's out for a bunch of games and then he has like 2 pop games and he's like, you know what, this is my pop year and he's just gonna be the wide receiver 11.
He has like that one just like veteran like swan song year where he just goes off every and fantasy owners are very jaded against Deshaun Jackson at this point. So it's like you're just never putting him into your lineup. You're like, when's the rug pull? When's it coming?
Oh, yeah,
Is it
he'll
this
just-
week, Deshaun?
Yeah, he'll be passed around the league. Just everyone's like, you take it. I don't know. He'll be the least played wide receiver one in history.
Yeah, if
He is also only 4,900 on DraftKings too. So
if I didn't have like such good like redraft teams, in my opinion, I would have I would probably pick him up and just slot him in this week just for the hell of it. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just have so many good players. Yeah, I'm just saying there are some people who maybe they went a little running back heavy and they might need Deshaun in a deep league that could use a wide receiver 3. And I think
mean,
he's
I have a couple teams where my third wide receiver or my flex is more of a matchup play than anything else. I mean, most teams aren't, especially if you're in a league where you're 3 wide receivers and a flex or 2 wide receivers and 2
Yeah.
flexes. Most teams aren't so deep that you have locked and loaded plays at every single position through your flex. So I would encourage fantasy owners who have Deshaun Jackson, take a long, hard look at your roster and decide, is the guy that I have in my flex really better than Deshaun Jackson this week? And I still think that Deontay Johnson could be an equal play to him.
or also,
But-
if you're in a league with kickers, just drop your kicker this week. If you really can't cut any of your bench guys,
Well, we aren't talking about cutting a bench guy. We're talking about getting him into your lineup. Although I do agree. Hashtag don't play kickers. Hashtag get rid of the kicker. Aside from Deshaun Jackson, there's not a lot of guys that I'm super interested in on the DFS landscape for this matchup. I mean, Terry McLaurin's interesting at 5,600. I'll probably have some of him. 6,300 for an injured Miles Sanders, even against Washington. I'll probably be fading him. Carson Wentz is 63. Haskins is bargain bin, so I might have a little bit of Haskins. He's cheaper. Haskins is 5K. He's cheaper than Mitch Trubisky.
how do you feel about Goddard in this matchup then, with all the injuries and the love of throwing to the tight end?
He's 4,100, so he's fine. And I haven't finished doing my DFS write-up yet. I'm still really trying to dig into it and see what players I really like this week. But I feel like I'm probably going to be ending up off Goddard just because from the surface level look that I've been doing, it seems like there's tight ends that are cheaper that I like more. I might still end up having a sprinkling of him just because someone has to catch passes, but he's not someone who I'm going to be, I don't think, heavily targeting.
yeah, I actually have a couple of lines where I have the Haskins, Terry McLaurin run it back stack with Deshaun Jackson, and that's it because there's no one else in Philly.
Sure. All right, let's jump to the next game here. Another potential dumpster fire. The Buffalo Bills going against Adam Gase's high school team, I guess. Adam Gase running out the New York City AARP home.
Yeah, I mean, with how Gase decides things, I mean, he basically goes to his locker room. He's like, "That's talent. I don't need that." And he's just like, "That's talent. I need to get rid of that." I mean, you just look at the guys he's fading on his own team that he doesn't have to acquire. He doesn't have to trade for. They're just there. Like, he has Le'Veon Bell, one of the guys we used to consider like the number one running back. It was Le'Veon Bell than everybody else. And you were just hoping that Le'Veon Bell was playing a full season for some reason. But now, he wants to play Frank Gore, or he wants to go trade for Kalen Ballage, and then not trade for Kalen Ballage. Like,
I will also say, this matchup has the lowest total of the week at 39.5.
Oh, yeah.
So, not only do fantasy owners hate this matchup because Jets, gross, but Vegas also hates this matchup.
Yeah, I'm proud to say I own no Jets in any of my fantasy leagues.
Same.
So
yeah, I was mid-season, like mid-off-season, interested in Le'Veon Bell because he was getting faded so hard. But then when Adam Gase was like, yeah, I don't know if he's my starter, though. It's like... it was just like, it's like, Adam, I'm trying to give you any credit possible, but there's no way at this point I'd rather have Tyronn Lue over you as coach. Like, at this point, for as far as going...
Frankie's upset with your shade.
Yeah, that's fine. But going back to this matchup, I like the Bills, but even then, like, when I try and find a Bill to like, there's so many question marks why I don't want to like them.
For me, I'm just starting Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs if I have them. Everyone else can ride the pine this week. You know, there's no one else that I feel confident. I mean, I guess if you draft Le'Veon Bell, you probably have to start him. But
Yeah, he's probably your RB2 if you're drafting him.
yeah, because he was going in the 4th round. So you probably have to start Le'Veon Bell this week unless you drafted very well at running back. I'm not starting any Jets if I can avoid it. And I'm not starting most Bills. I mean, Cole Beasley, John Brown, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, they can all ride the bench this week. I want Josh Allen and I want Stephon Diggs, and that's it.
Oh yeah, this is definitely an exploratory game.
Yeah.
Everyone's watching to see how the Bills play with this new roster, how Zach Moss fits in, how is Stephon Diggs still a 1 in this system, or is he just not getting enough passes, and is Josh Allen more accurate? Like, this is a game you watch, hopefully.
I am curious, though, given how ubiquitous our dislike of Le'Veon Bell is, who would you start over Le'Veon Bell? Let's talk other running backs in that range, maybe other running backs with, questionable week 1 situations. Sorry, guys, Jonathan Taylor or Le'Veon Bell?
Why are you gonna do this to me?
I mean, I would say Jonathan Taylor just because they're playing the Jaguars. So they're going to be up, I would hope, and they're going to be running the ball. And if we have to talk about other 4th, 5th round running backs, I mean, I'm much more confident starting Mark Ingram or David Johnson than I am Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, no. I'm going deeper than 4th or 5th round. I'm curious to see the depths of you guys' hatred for Le'Veon Bell this week. Antonio Gibson or Le'Veon Bell?
Oh yeah, I'm all in on Gibson.
I hate this. I don't like this.
Wait, does Vitaly have Le'Veon Bell?
No, I don't.
Why do you hate this?
Because I don't. All right, mainly it's because of how hard I came out against Taylor and how much I liked Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell is still Le'Veon. Like, I feel like I'm talking down a Hall of Famer, like Walter Payton. He's not that good.
Sure. Actually, so are you Jonathan Taylor then?
I think I'm Le'Veon Bell because I want to believe that Adam Gase is not dumb. I want to hope it's
Why?
just...
What has he ever done to prove to you that he's not dumb?
Jay Ajayi did good twice.
Like 2 games?
Exactly. Maybe this is a Jay Ajayi game. That's
I'm not buying it.
I'm not happy if I have either of them as my flex decision, just because, like I said, I think Taylor's not... I want Taylor, like, week 3 and beyond. I think 1 and 2 are still max games to lose, basically.
Okay. Antonio Gibson or Le'Veon Bell, Vitaly?
I'll go Antonio Gibson.
Raheem Mostert or Le'Veon Bell?
Raheem Mostert.
Did you just ask if, like, the team that ran the ball?
I mean, we don't know that Raheem... There is still Jerick McKinnon and Tevin Coleman in that system.
And they did pay Jerick McKinnon to be the back.
Cam Akers or Le'Veon Bell?
I think at that point I'm just going...
Honestly, I think even if they're in a...
I think the fact that it's a tough decision, like, even if it's Le'Veon Bell, it speaks volumes.
No, overlay Akers, it is Le'Veon Bell, because Cam Akers still has to deal with Dallas, and they're definitely going to be down in that game.
Sure.
So I don't see much running happening for them. I think that's a Robert Woods Cup game.
All right, let's jump to the next one on this list here. One of our last 2 that we got going. We got the New England Patriots up against the Miami Dolphins. Of the 4 potential dumpster fires, I think this one actually could be the most fun for fantasy and most fun to watch from just an pure football standpoint. Respectable 42-point total, not sky high, but high enough that you're looking at guys in that matchup. Obviously, you're in on Devontae Parker if you drafted him.
Both leagues.
Yeah, you're in on Devontae Parker. You're probably in on Cam Newton. Is there anyone else that you're really starting with confidence in this matchup aside from Parker and Newton?
I mean,
Gesicki isn't even listed as the starting tight end on their roster. N'Keal Harry should be the guy in New England, but it is still a bit ambiguous as to how Bill's going to use his wide receivers. There's no tight ends on New England that anyone cares about, unless you're a big Gunnar Olszewski truther.
Yeah, if I remember, I think James White is 6K in DraftKings. Yeah, he is. So I'm off that completely.
I'm talking about more for redraft here, because there's a lot of guys on this. There's a lot of guys in this matchup that were taken in a range where you probably don't have to start them. They're more of a matchup play. New England's defense isn't going to be what it was last year. I mean, we have 7 guys opting, including a lot of starters. Chung, Hightower, both not playing this season. So New England's defense not as formidable as it was. We've seen Devontae Parker already have a lot of success against Stephon Gilmore at the end of last year, so that could still be a sneaky good play.
Yeah, New England's defense could be good against lesser defenses this year, like it was not to the degree it was last year, but more so how last year when they were playing crap bags, they were beating up on the crap bags, just from the camp reports that they were smothering the receivers, which also then brings me to I like N'Keal Harry this year, but I don't like the camp reports that just New England receivers in general were having trouble with separation, which was the issue last year. So I could see it being real rough for them. So this is like James White. I still have interest in Cam Newton because he's Cam Newton. He can still salvage a day on his legs, and if the running backs are looking as bad as they are, he can take some of that running volume. I think this is they set the line at this because it's like there's so much. Let's see how this works for both of these teams because we don't know what the Dolphins back to being what they started last year as or what they finished last year as. And
yeah, I was gonna say if there's a game where you want to start like Cam Newton, it's against the Dolphins. I mean,
are you guys starting Jordan Howard against that Patriots D line? I mean, news came out that he's going to be the primary guy in that Howard Breida backfield, so you at least know he should be toting the rock.
I'm probably off him.
Or what about Julian Edelman? He's questionable in camp. They're saying it was just limiting of reps, but it is still a Q tag on a 34-year-old slot receiver.
I'm not too worried about him. With how good he's looking, just physically,
yep.
This offseason, I think he's gotten into great shape, and he's just such a focal point for the offense, and especially for half point PPR and PPR, I think he's got a good enough floor that he's not going to kill you.
Yeah, if he's good to go, I'm definitely starting him. Again, same thing with Cam. I mean, if there's a game to start him, it's against Miami.
And then let's run through 3 Dolphins real fast that all are players who could be started this week, depending on what situation you're in. Are you starting Preston Williams, questionable with the knee, assuming he plays?
If he's good to go, if he's a game time decision, I'm out.
Yeah.
If he's good to go before then, I might roll the dice on him. Like I said, it depends. Obviously, this is all depending on team makeup. But if I'm somebody who went very heavy on running back, if I went 3 off the bat,
yep,
and then I was caught in the run, and he's potentially my third. Or if he's my flex guy in a 3 wide receiver league, or I've got 3 wide receivers I like more than him, and I'm kind of gambling between him and maybe a Jordan Howard or guys of that ilk, I might roll him out there. Like I said, just because of how good he was over Devontae Parker before he was injured. So I'm interested.
What about Gesicki? Questionable with the glute. He showed up pretty well at the end of last season. Very athletic tight end. He's in the range of time in the NFL where tight ends should be breaking out. I personally believe that talent is going to win out with him. Are you worried about the glute at all hampering him against? I mean, because we already know that New England's not going to be as good against tight ends this year because the linebacking core is big at stopping them. So I mean, we were 11th last season. We're probably going to be taking a step back. Personally, if I drafted Gesicki, I'm running him out there this week against New England, and just counting on the depth chart being BS and Gesicki being talented enough to take advantage of that depleted New England secondary.
Oh, yeah, if he's good to go, I'm rolling him out there. If he's game time decision, I might just roll with Font.
Sure, because he's someone you probably drafted a second tight end with.
Yeah, both leagues I went late tight end this year. So I mean, if you're in one that same situation that I am, it's if he's game time decision, I might go with somebody else. But if he's healthy, good to go, I would 100% go with him.
And then last player, if you're streaming quarterbacks this year, are you rolling out Fitzmagic?
So to answer the previous one quickly, I'm off the Gesicki train just because I feel like Miami has this. Miami is the perennial. We have a hype guy, and they never do anything. They're just like the land of misfit hype. But going to Fitzmagic, I don't think this is his game, but there will be Fitzmagic.
Personally, if I'm trying to capture Fitzmagic, I'm throwing him out there this week because you know if the magic runs out at like week 3 or 4, and Tua could come in at any point. So if I'm hunting that magic, I'm just like just grabbing him, just throwing him onto the field. Like, come on, do something.
Gilmore, we still have good corners. I'm too scared of Gilmore to roll Fitzmagic out when I could roll so many other quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers, who's mostly not owned. I'll roll him against the Jags.
What about you, Frankie? Fitzmagic week 1, you in?
No, I'm in the same boat as him. I would take
Cowards.
Other streaming quarterbacks. Phillip Rivers, one of them. Jimmy G, another one.
I think the big streaming quarterback that we're going to talk about in our very next matchup is the guy that I would take over him. Fitzmagic is like a bottom of the list streaming quarterback for me, but I would consider him this week.
Oh, who are you thinking for?
Let's jump to that next matchup though. Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions, 43.5 total. I'm actually pretty interested in this game. I mean, I love the Lions. They moved to much more of a gunslinging type offense last season. They just signed Adrian Peterson, which shows they do not care about running the football at all. Unless they really like getting 2.5 yards a carry or whatever he's averaging at age 87. The Bears finally settled on Mitch Trubisky as quarterback, so the mystery's gone. We don't have to worry about is it Foles or Trubisky. I don't think that the Lions defense with no more Darius Slay is going to be a big obstacle for Trubisky, especially with Trubisky historically being pretty good against Detroit. So I actually think this game could be a sneaky shootout. Trubisky too. Not so much in redraft. I think definitely better options in redraft, but 5,400 on DraftKings. I'm going to probably have a lot of Trubisky this, or maybe not a lot because I never want to have a lot of Trubisky, but I might have like 15% Trubisky this week, just because of that price and that sneaky shootout potential.
Yeah, I have a couple lines that have both Miller and AR-15 with Trubisky. Not a super lot, but again, I have some because I want to get some exposure. And then with Golladay running it back, low end running backs.
I am kind of off this matchup. I'm not a huge fan just because I still believe in the Bears defense.
Sure.
And I am just... Detroit just seems... There's something wrong with it. There's some stink. I don't know.
You're just waiting. You're waiting for them to let you down. They've done you wrong in the past, and you're waiting for it to happen again. You're a jilted lover.
Yes. Like everything they've done at running back.
We know it's how they treated your carry on.
Yes, I understand this. I got over that at the draft, and then they threw Adrian Peterson just like he's dead. He's dead, Jim. Let him go. Like they threw all those running backs in there. They let Slay go. I mean, they drafted the rookie, but this just feels like a game where it's just going to be... I feel like it's going to be sloppy. Like, we're going to see Matt Stafford coming back after injury, so he's been out for a bit. I could see this being a turnover-heavy game.
So you're saying that Carry-On just needs to get injected with some triple blood and he'll be good?
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you guys are actively avoiding? I mean, obviously, the Detroit backfield is just They're not going out there.
Yeah. I'm
Is there anyone on either team out of the presumed starters that you're actively avoiding? So are you avoiding either Anthony Miller or Allen Robinson? Are you shying away from Hawk or Kenny Golladay or Marvin Jones or Stafford?
I think all those are pretty good plays this week. I'm not fading any of them. I'm actually trying to get shares of both of them in DFS because I agree with you in more of the sense that I think this is gonna be a sneaky shootout. I actually completely forgot Slay was gone for a little while.
So you're even more excited now.
Yeah,
You're like, wait, what? Slay's gone?
This isn't like today news, but like I was looking at it a little while ago and I was like, oh yeah, Detroit did trade Slay.
But they got that hype new rookie. I mean, like I said, he was one of the best corners coming out of that draft. But no, I mean, I'm probably avoiding Stafford at least for this week. I want to see how he looks, and just that the Bears defense, the way they opened up last year, I feel like that might make a return now that they're on fresh legs and they don't have Trubisky just putting them on the field every other down.
You're saying the Bears aren't just a defense?
Well, also, we don't know Trubisky isn't going to put them on the field every other down.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, then it's hard to be a shootout if one team's doing the shooting. Then it's just
No. It's a shootout between the Detroit offense and the Bears defense.
Yeah, the only bullets are coming back are the bullets that are ricocheting off the wall behind the Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those matchups that I'd rather avoid. I'm not like, no one's a hard fade for me, but like these are guys that I'm not targeting. Like,
sure.
These are low confidence plays for me.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, that gets us to the halfway point, boys. So let's do a quick beer check.
I'm through like 1.5.
I am also through 1.5.
I'm not like there.
So also 1.5.
Yeah.
It's been a second since Frankie's got one. If we're all at 1.5, let's pass it down to the table to Supreme Boy down there.
Well, I'm wearing a Palace hat, but
whatever.
I digress.
Palace Supreme shoes.
Yeah, you get on that Super Me life.
I think that today I'm going to rant about the fact that somehow, even though, you were at 2 in the draft in our league, main league?
Yes. Are you talking about our primary league? Yeah, I was at 2.
And you were at 6. Somehow, both of you, and I know why, because we've been drafting together all offseason, you guys stole picks from me. And we knew that was going to happen, but there were a lot of picks that just went not to me, and I'm kind of a little bit upset about that. I thought I had you guys figured out, had you guys pegged, and was gonna jump the gun a little bit and reach, but no, it's I'm mad I didn't get Antonio Gibson and AJ Brown, even though he fell in the 4th round.
He fell to the 5th, sir.
Wait, did? Oh yeah, because I got I don't even remember who I got in the 4th, but
because he was 2 picks. It was 2 picks up to you, so I just looked you dead in your eyes. I looked you dead in your eyes and let you know you were not getting your boy.
Also, complete sidebar from this. Back to our hate for kickers. If you're in a league with kickers, convince your commissioner not to have kickers next season because you've probably already done your draft.
Or just leave them on the sidelines.
Yeah, actually get that extra bench spot. That's pretty much it. I didn't really have anything prepared, so I'm gonna just
sure
air it out real quick. Kind of relieve the tension in the room.
All right. Well, if that's the case, then join us tomorrow as we go through the remaining 7 matchups. We'll also be bringing you guys our starts of the week, money picks for DFS, and some sneaky waiver stashes for week 1. Guys that you might want to ahead of the Thursday game stash on your bench in case they do something that people might not expect in week 1. That way you don't have to waste valuable fab bucks later on to get them. As always, if you like what we brought to the table, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on social media, hit that notification bell so you know exactly when episodes start. Hope you guys all did awesome in your drafts, and I want to see some championships from all of you except for people in our league because I'm winning it this year. So I want some championships from you guys at the end of the season.